Little Miss Sunshine tells the story of a family whose circumstances go from bad to worse. And then the movie ends. But somehow we're left feeling hopeful. How does it do this? We're talking all about it this week in Kaden's Movie Club. Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen it, beat it. Good characters are important in any story, but with a movie like Little Miss Sunshine, a simple, grounded road trip movie, it's all about character. Which is why the opening sequence quickly introduces us to each of its characters, and it does this by revealing their want. Good characters always have a want. What do they want more than anything? In musicals, there's usually an entire song dedicated to it.
I want to be where the people are.
I just can't wait to be king. Then I meet the wizard, what I've waited for since birth.
But this isn't a musical, so instead, it does this in a rapid-fire montage. Olive wants to be a beauty queen. Richard wants to sell his self-help program.
And I want you to be winners.
Dwayne wants to achieve a specific goal. We don't know exactly what this is yet, but we know he's committed to it, which is all we need. We can't show it, but Grandpa wants to feel good. Cheryl wants to fix the family's problems.
Richard, he has nowhere else to go.
And Frank wants to not be here anymore. And all of that is planted for the audience before the title card even comes up. Once we're given all this info about who these characters are individually, we force them into one space with a family dinner scene. And just as quickly as the movie introduced the characters, it establishes all the important dynamics through this dinner scene.
I practice every day.
Yeah, good luck. Not about luck, Frank. Luck is the name losers give to their own failings. It's about wanting to win.
First off, it's not a typical family unit. Richard and Cheryl are the parents. Richard's dad is living with them, and now so is Cheryl's brother. Dwayne is Cheryl's son from a previous marriage, and then there's Olive, their daughter. They're almost a family by obligation, brought together by life's circumstances. There's nothing crazy about the premise of this movie. It's a family road trip. The trick with grounded stories is making you care just as much or more about the journey the characters go through emotionally as you do about the physical journey. And that emotional journey is what we call a character arc. It's the transformation a character goes through over the course of the story. In Star Wars, Han Solo starts as a smuggler who's trying to pay off debts. He cares only about money and his own problems, but by the end, he makes the decision to return to the Death Star at his own risk to help Luke fight the Empire.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
He goes from scoundrel to hero. Even in the best ensemble stories, it's often difficult to track a strong arc for every single character. But I think Little Miss Sunshine is one of those rare movies that provides specific moments where we can see that there's been a change in each of the characters' perspectives. And one thing that really helps to achieve this is that the movie isn't afraid to let its characters have flaws, even to be unlikable at times. Sometimes storytellers are afraid the audiences will dislike flawed characters, but the truth is, this makes them relatable. We all understand imperfection because it's what makes us human. So with all this in mind, let's take a quick look at some key moments for these characters. Richard's 9-step program is bringing in no money. He's obsessed with the idea of winners and losers. The irony here is that he's failing at selling his program that teaches people to be winners. He's constantly lecturing everybody with all these cliches. At best, he's annoying. At worst, he's a jerk. It's only once it seems impossible for the family to get Olive to the pageant that Frank's belief in what makes a winner becomes genuine and resonates with the rest of the family.
There's two kinds of people in this world. There's winners and there's losers. Okay? And you know what the difference is? Winners don't give up. So what are we here? Are we winners or are we losers? Huh?
Okay. Let's do it.
Then there's Grandpa. Not only has he been kicked out of the retirement home, but he's ungrateful to the people who have taken him in. But when the time comes, Grandpa steps up and becomes the father Richard needs.
You took a big chance. You took guts, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Dad.
We later see him saying a similar thing to Olive, as if his time spent coaching Olive gave him the perspective he needed to appreciate his son's efforts.
I don't want to be a loser.
You know what a loser is? A real loser is somebody that's so afraid of not winning, they don't even try.
Dwayne is a moody teenager that hates everyone and is counting the days for when he moves out of the house to become a pilot.
What about your family?
When Dwayne finds out that he's colorblind and can't fly jets, it seems like everything he's working for has been for nothing. He finally releases all the resentment he's been building for his family.
For better or worse, we're your family.
No, you're not my family. Okay, I don't want to be your family. You're losers.
But despite the devastation he feels, he puts it aside to ensure Olive can reach the pageant.
Okay. Let's go. I apologize for the things I said. I was upset.
I didn't really mean them.
Frank is just barely recovering from an attempt to take his own life. He's gone through heartbreak, lost his job, and his status in the academic world. The irony is that he's a Proust scholar, and Proust believed that times of suffering were more valuable than times of happiness because of what those difficult times can teach us.
All those years he suffered, those were the best years of his life, because they made him who he was. All the years he was happy, total waste. Didn't learn a thing.
Frank is only able to recognize that after he's been dragged along on this trip to help Olive reach the pageant.
Do you think there's a heaven?
It's hard to say, Olive. I don't think anyone knows for sure.
I think there is one.
You think I'll get in?
Yes.
Promise?
Yes.
And finally, Cheryl. Out of the adults, she's the glue holding the family together. She's looking out for everyone, trying to be the peacemaker, trying to get the family through difficult times. It's only when Dwayne and Richard want to stop Olive from performing to protect her that Cheryl finally realizes she needs to let go of trying to protect everyone all the time.
She has worked so hard. She's poured everything into this. We can't just take it away from her. We can't. I know you want to protect her. I know, honey, but we gotta let Olive be Olive.
Now you might have noticed one of the key elements in each of these character arcs is Olive. The pageant Olive is trying to compete in is called Little Miss Sunshine, but Olive is a literal Little Miss Sunshine in the lives of her family members. As the only child in the family, Olive represents the innocence and hope that all of the adult characters have lost along the way. But despite all the flaws we see in them, they never once quit when it comes to Olive. The thing that unites them is their shared goal of preserving that hope in life for her. And this all culminates in the scene where Olive performs in the pageant. Her dance is a little suggestive. But of course, she doesn't know that. She's just dancing her heart out and having a blast while doing it. When the pageant people want to stop Olive from dancing, each of these family members steps up to support her.
Get your daughter off this stage right now!
They abandon any fear that they might be embarrassed or ashamed or that they might feel like a loser. So where does that leave our characters at the end of the movie? Richard does not get the book deal and the family is under financial threat. Frank is no longer the #1 Proust scholar in America and still has to live with the family. Dwayne finds out he's colorblind and can't fly jets. Cheryl isn't able to solve any of these problems for anybody, and Grandpa dies. It sounds like a total downer, but it doesn't feel that way to us or the characters. What makes this movie great is not a literal happy ending where everything works out, because life isn't like that. Instead, we get to see a group of very flawed people come together and move mountains, or in this case, an old VW bus, to keep hope alive for the one person in the family who's still young enough to have not had their hopes crushed by life's difficulties. But here's the best part. In the process of helping Olive, they each reignite that hope within themselves. The circumstances around the characters don't change. In fact, they get worse. But these characters are now facing those circumstances with a new perspective. And because the characters are clear, grounded, and relatable, we get to feel what they do. We get to learn alongside them that despite how difficult life can be, it helps to take the journey next to people who are flawed just like us, but refuse to quit moving forward. And for next week's movie, we'll be looking at another interesting set of characters who take a journey. Life of Pi follows the story of a young man who survives a shipwreck and ends up stuck on a lifeboat in the middle of the ocean. But he's not alone. The one thing to know about Pi is that he's a very spiritual person. As you'll see, he doesn't subscribe to one religion in particular, but he definitely believes in a higher power, and that belief is put to the test. So here's some questions to keep in mind while you watch. How does Pi apply his spirituality in life? Do you think it hurts or helps him? Look for symbolism in the movie. Do any of the story elements represent anything thematically? How does Pi's discussion with the investigators influence your view of the story? So let's chat about any thoughts or observations you had about Little Miss Sunshine. And I'll see you back here next week to discuss Life of Pi. And if you want to stay in the know about Movie Club, you know where to go.